Okay, so at this point in the project, we're going to go ahead and start an assembly file to start putting these pegs into the pegboard that we've created. So I'm going to select New, but this time rather than a part file, we're going to choose a standard.iam assembly file. And once the assembly file opens, then I'm going to start placing my components in there. So if yours says place from content center, we need to hit this drop down menu because we want to choose just place here. And we're going to look in our pegboard toy folder, and we're going to place our pegboard, round peg, and square peg. So I'm going to click on the pegboard and hold the control key on my keyboard down and select the other two as well. So I have all three parts selected, and then I'm going to click open, and then just click on my screen here to place those in there. And then I'm going to hit escape so that it doesn't place them a second time. I'm just going to drag my square peg over here, my round peg over here, and then before I start constraining and putting those pegs in there, I want to go ahead and ground my pegboard so that it doesn't change its orientation during the constraining process. So I'm going to right click on the pegboard and choose grounded. Okay, so you'll notice that the pegboard has the little white thumbtack. It is grounded, so now we're ready to put those pegs in. So I'm going to start with the round peg. I'm going to click constrain. Just going to leave it on the mate constraint, and I'm actually going to mate this imaginary or invisible center axis of the round peg with the invisible center axis that you can see light up here of the round peg hole. And you'll see it just pop right in there. I'll go ahead and click OK, and then that peg will move up and down, but it stays right inside that hole. Alright, so the square peg's a little different. It requires two constraints. So I'm going to start with the constrain button again. I'm going to leave it on mate, and I'm going to constrain this flat surface of my square peg, really with any of the flat surfaces down inside the hole. It doesn't matter. I'm going to just pick one that I can see here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So I'm just going to click right there. So there's the first constraint. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now you'll notice that the peg is not upright. It's just laying flat, and also it moves. And so if I change my view a little bit here, you'll notice that it still moves up and down. It would move front to back, but it does not move left to right because that's the constraint that we just put on there. So I'm going to go back to my home view. I'm just going to slide this back like this. So you'll notice if I hit the little arrow over here and I click on the mate constraint, so now I have this edge here constrained or mated to that edge of my square peg. So what I need to do is constrain an adjacent edge. So an adjacent edge would be like this top one here. So I'm going to click there, and I want that surface to match up down inside my square hole. I want that surface to match up with this surface right here, and that's going to flip it upright. So I'm just going to go ahead and click right there. And you'll notice that now the square peg is where it belongs. So I'm going to click OK. And you'll see now it does not move any direction except for up and down. So now it's time to save this. Save as. Again, we should still be in the pegboard toy folder. You notice that no other files show up right now because this is an assembly file. So the only file types that would show up in here are going to be other files with the .iam extension, and there are no others. So I'm just going to save this one as pegboard assembly.